And going over some of the requirements, notice that in these scales, you can't just use like a single ellipse or a single rectangle to repeat it. One of the big requirements about having a single scale is that whatever you do to make it must be composite or complex. So what does that mean? It means curves. So here's a quick overview of how the Bezier function works. This curve drawing function has lots of arguments. You should pay attention to the color coding in these slides. The red and the green, those are the endpoints. And the stuff in the middle, they call them like control points. I like thinking about them like magnets of sorts. As you move farther away, it changes how like the curve is being pulled towards those points in the middle. Okay? So here they're on opposite ends, so your curve bends two ways. Here, notice they're on some extreme, right? They're close together, so there's less of a curve, it's less bendy. This one on the other end, yeah, you see the weaker curve that's there, not as pretty. If you have them on the same side, they bend towards the same way, just one curve, one change in concavity for those taking calculus. Okay? You can go on the other side, and if they go way off to the extremes, so there's a big difference between those 2 points, you get funny shapes that look like that. So something you may want to use for your scales assignment, Bezier. Other complicated functions, vertex to define your own kind of regular polygon. You can define them via points like this. Here's a little, corner. So you can use that and repeat it in your scales assignment if you like lines. There's also, similarly, curve vertex. A bunch of points, and they try its best to connect it with a polynomial in between. A little bit, I don't know, less complicated than a curve. Like you define the points like here, 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 here. Maybe they're like zeros. You're fitting a polynomial to it. Some more functions for you to think about and use in your scales assignment. Okay. So something like that you may want as a scale, like on a lizard or something. You fill it in with your own kinds of color. The benefit of begin shape, end shape with curved vertexes, you can fill in all that area without having to do some funny like overlaying of colors. Okay, and here's some useful examples on a gradient. You might want this to make your programs look cooler, to have some idea changing one color to the other. You use a while loop. We make use of the stroke, the ellipse, and then here, notice this is what matters, yeah? You're changing your color ever so slightly, making it darker and darker as you, let's see, decrease the size. No, increase the size. So we start dark and then go to red. If this thing was being drawn one loop at a time, you'll see the outlines. Yeah. So it starts black, then goes red. Here's the opposite direction. Notice it's minus equals, something you will likely see and can use on your quiz today. That shortcut. Good review of loops. Notice we're using a float this time too for r, so that we have those fractional values. And some examples, okay? This student made a cool scales example. Looks like this, okay? I think I have a scales demo to show you, so give me one moment. Yeah, you get to see that all the time during distance learning. I stopped playing many of those things that are on my laptop. So what I'll demonstrate is like that scales function. Although we don't go into formal function definitions, I think I will share with you this template, minus loops of course. But with the scales function, how do you get one scale to draw? And I'll show you a couple more examples. Or if you're real good about it, I think I'll post this video. And then you can pause the screen at strategic points to understand parts of the code, okay? But I know students do that from my other programming classes. So I'm not going to show you everything. I'm just going to show you like this part right here, right? You cut that part off. So this is the scales function. You will need to do something like this. This thing draws just one scale. Notice up here we have cut off nested loops. And inside, we call our scales function. You saw it in the Kahoot question. This scale will take on these three ellipses. Notice you have a variable x and y. This controls where it's being drawn. They get a pattern that looks like this. So this is like pretty basic. Kind of looks like scales, right? Pretty neat. Okay. How you define your loop matters. You can use other kinds of shape like triangle and arc. Maybe change the color a bit. Get something that looks like this. Okay, pink's kind of weird, but that's the idea behind your scales assignment. You can start basic, layer on some complexity as the week goes on, as they tell you more and more. Any questions or comments? Nope. So I stop.